Ik denk dat we inmiddels eigenlijk wel gewoon gaan beginnen. Want de introductie is misschien toch wat minder van belang dan het verhaal van mijn collega Guy zometeen. Nou, allereerst nogmaals welkom bij het webinar. Dit gaat weer een iets ander webinar worden dan u gewend bent van ons. Normaal doen we meestal één spreker of meestal doen we het in het Nederlands. Nu doe ik een stukje in het Nederlands, een heel klein stukje introductie. En mijn collega Guy zal het dan in Engels een presentatie verder geven over de batch processing tool die wij hebben voor het screenen van third parties. En dan zou het... Hier kunt u in ieder geval nog zien met wie u te maken heeft. Hè. Vroeger dan kon je gewoon seminars geven, dan kon je naartoe en dan zag je de mensen. Tegenwoordig moeten we het even zo doen. Ook prima, maar het is even behelpen. Dus vandaar dat je hier de foto ziet. Mij aan de linkerkant en Guy aan de rechterkant. Nou, heel kort, LexisNexis. De meesten zullen het wel weten. Wij zijn natuurlijk gewoon een provider van data. We hebben data. We doen hele knappe dingen met data op allerlei soorten gebied. Media, research en gewoon. Maar waar we nu voor zitten is natuurlijk, en waar ik ook voor zit als risk and compliance specialist, is de risk and compliance tak. En met name het hele KYC CDD processstroom. Die je kan ondersteunen. Eigenlijk van het begin tot het einde met LexisNexis systemen. En dat wil zeggen dat wij onze data, en we hebben echt, ik zit het hier staat het vrij groot, 40.000 nieuwsbronnen over 30 talen en 50 landen. Weet je, het is echt huge. En daarbij hebben we bijvoorbeeld in Nederland ook als enige een archief van het nieuws. Dus we hebben echt gewoon, als je echt iets wil hebben, dan moet je eigenlijk bij ons zijn, wil je het goed voor elkaar krijgen. Nou, al die data hebben wij in een korte tool gezet, in Diligence. Heel makkelijk, heel intuïtief. En ik laat het hier even kort zien. Binnenkort, ik verwacht eigenlijk binnen nu en wat zal het zijn, een maand of 2, doen we een webinar over deze tool. Omdat we over een week of 2 ook de UBO-data hierin krijgen. En dan heb je echt het meest complete tool ter je beschikking voor de deep dive. Nou, de reden waarom ik dit dan weer zeg is omdat we de deep dive doen en de batch processing zit daarboven. Dus wat Guy zo meteen vertelt is eigenlijk de voorloper van, ja oké, dan heb ik een hit, die wil ik dan eventueel onderzoeken. Nou, daar komt dit systeem op zijn plek. Dan kan je gewoon echt het helemaal uitspitten en met een PDF, auditable report kun je klaarstaan. Dus wat dat betreft zit je dan goed. Hier ga ik even aan voorbij, want dit is echt de uitsplitsing over hoe wij denken dat er gekeken zou kunnen worden naar een risk-based approach. Low risk, hoef je niet zoveel voor te doen. High risks, mag je induiken, deep dive, met zo'n extra deep dive systeem. Aan het einde van het webinar zal er ook een poll komen van, nou, wil je er meer over weten over hoe wij hier naar kijken, welke systemen we adviseren vanuit ons oogpunt op welk moment. Klik dat aan en dan komen wij graag, mijn collega, François en ik, komen graag een keer langs om dat te gaan vertellen. Ik ga hier ook gewoon verder aan voorbij, want dit is gewoon, weet je, nog meer informatie over wat het allemaal kan, hoe goed het eigenlijk en hoe compleet het is. Maar belangrijk is eigenlijk het verhaal wat Guy zo meteen gaat vertellen, zodat je je hele badge gewoon simpel kan ondersteunen en kan monitoren. In het systeem staat ook een chatfunctie. Mochten er vragen zijn, schrijf die gewoon in de chat. Ik probeer dat te monitoren en dan stel ik die vragen aan Guy. Mag je ook in het Nederlands doen, dan vertaal ik ze gewoon naar het Engels. Dan denk ik dat bij deze het woord aan Guy ga geven, zodat hij u kan leiden door de batch processing tool.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. Can you see my screen? Is that okay? Is it working?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as Paul said in the introduction, we're looking at a system called Batch Name Check. Batch Name Check is a system that's going to be checking your database, your database of customers, against official sanctions lists, PEP lists, Interpol lists, an internal list as well. automatically and on a regular basis. It's an easy process, and which is set up only on one centralized tool for an unlimited number of users. So basically what we're looking here is a system which needs to be fed with a number of names that of course would be called your database of clients or database of counterparties. So the concept basically is pretty simple. You need to upload the names of the people that you are going to be screening, in other words, your business partners, your clients, and so on. Then with the defined tasks that have been defined ahead of the installation, you will then be able to have an automatic check during the night. Usually what happens is the previous evening, the new names, we call them the delta, the new names that have been added to the various lists, being the sanctions list, the PEP list, and so on, are added onto the server, onto the Lexis server. At 1 o'clock in the morning, or let's say after midnight, generally we say like 1 o'clock in the morning, batch name check automatically opens a link between your server and the server of Lexis and goes and downloads, gets all the information with regards to the delta, meaning the new names which have been put onto the lists the previous evening. That having been imported means also that there is no export. So it's very important that everybody on the call understands that your data is protected. Nothing leaves your own server. You are managing the safety and the security on your server with your firewalls and any other kind of security and safety devices. So we are looking at a system which will then bring automatically the various hits throughout the night. In the morning at 8:30, when you come back to the office and you turn on the machine, you'll automatically see the hits from the night. So everything is automatic. So this happens on a daily basis. Now, you do not need to check this on a daily basis. You will check this according to your requirements within your sector, within your compliance area, within your procedures internally. Doing it once a week would be reasonable. Doing it once a month would be reasonable. If it's more names, if you've got more people that you can be working, it's entirely up to you what your frequency is of clearing the hits. The system, in any case, will give you new hits every single morning. So having seen that concept here, we will then, of course, go and create a number of reports, because you also need to go and report the work that you've been doing. So I'll be showing this to you within the next, I would say, 25 to 30 minutes. So it's a web-based system. So what you're seeing in front of you is the home page. So the moment I go into the home page, I see like a dashboard. And this dashboard here on the left-hand side shows me here my non-validated hits customers. So this is the number of customers, and these are my customers here on the here at the bottom, that have actually got hits. And these hits have then, of course, been repatriated, brought back, imported by the system throughout the batch process during the night. So it's important for you that this figure here on the left-hand side always needs to be 0. So I've got 58. So just imagine I'm now doing this once a week. I have 58 hits that have come up since last week. So I need to go and clear these hits. I will show the clearing of the hits in a moment. Here next to me, I've got a number of information fields, which here shows me that I've got 13 PEP customers. I can click here and I can see these are all the PEPs I actually have on my database. So it's something that anybody can go in and view at the glimpse of an eye. You can go and say, okay, how many PEPs do we have? We have 13. There are here. How many people do we have, or how many customers? And the customer, of course, can be a person, can be a company. Do we have on the sanctions lists? Obviously, on the PEP list, we only have individuals. On the sanctions list, you can have individuals and corporates and companies. So these are my companies that are on, or my people, my clients that are on sanctions lists. Here on the right-hand side, I, for example, can go and send tasks to a number of people. If I'm a compliance officer, I can go and create a task and send a task to someone in in the organization and say, could you go and please do some information for me, and so on. So these are the tasks that I have actually sent out, and the person who then gets a task sees this here on top on the left hand side. I have 2 tasks left, so if I just click on these 2, then I get this information. I've got 2 tasks that I need to work with. So that's your main page. That's the page that you're going to be looking at on a regular basis. Now, the fact of following now these various points, I will now get to the way of how the system is being used, and this will be in a consecutive order. So first of all, you need to create your database. It will not be created as such. You need to do something to create your database of clients. Now, there are 2 ways of doing this. You can either have your IT people connect to your mainframe, and you can have your IT people do a transfer of data of these particular clients every day, for example, on a regular basis. I would suggest maybe if your ITs can do this, you will do this on a daily basis in the evening at 5 o'clock, for example. That, of course, is defined by your own company within the procedures. How is data managed? How is data transferred from one device to another? You can choose whether you want to use that option. If you are a smaller company, then of course it is well possible that you want the user to do this. Now, the user can go and create a customer. The user can go and create a customer one by one, which I'll show you how that works in a second. And you can also import customers. So importing a customer would happen at this level here. I've already done this ahead of time, so I can show you exactly how this actually works. So the user will actually be able to work on Excel, whereby the IT guy will have to work on XML. The user can work on Excel, so he can create an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the Excel spreadsheet is based on a very limited number of information. You can see internal number here on the left-hand side. You've got the name. So I've got Garcia, Rutte, AkzoNobel, Anfeld Distribution. I guess you already realize that the 2 first are individuals and the 2 last here at the bottom are companies. I've got the first name cell or first name information, Juan and Mark. And for companies, I don't need to put the legal form behind it. It is enough if I just put a star. You can put the legal form behind it, no problem. What do I need in the way of differentiation information between one person and another person of the same name, or one company vis-a-vis another company of the same name? Well, I've got the birth date of a person, or the date of creation of the company, or the constitution date of the company would then be the birth date here. I would have the nationality. The nationality is the 2-digit ISO code. And in this particular case, Mr. Garcia is from Colombia. The 2 other rows here, 3 and 4, are from the Netherlands. NL and Anfeld is from the US. And that's the way that you're going to create your information within the database. Why is this important? It's important because it's going to help you to solve and eliminate your hits and the false hits at the glimpse of an eye, because you're going to say, okay, I do have an Anfeld distribution, but it's in Germany, and this one is in the US. I am not concerned about that one. So if you don't have the information on the birth date, you can put a dummy date in here. And if you don't have the information on nationality, you can put dummy values there as well. Is person means it is a person, true for the 2 first, false for the others. It's not a yes or no, it's a true or false. Negative news here, whereby the name check will bring back negative news together with the results of the check on the various lists. You also have an option to have a link to the Lexis list of negative news, and that is the one which is being concerned here in column G. So that would be something, if you opt for that, you would get back to your colleagues or to my colleagues Paul and Francois to discuss that. So if you want to access that database, you can say true for that client, for example, but you don't need to access the Lexis database for the others. So true or false means I will be accessing that database for additional negative news. We have a number of change codes, I being import, U being update, and a D for delete. So that's the way that actually the information is required. I'm taking a bit of time here to show this to you, to show you or to explain to you that it's very simple. You only need about a handful of information. So if I go and upload this, I've already done it to save a bit of time. I just go here under imports, I select my files, and it automatically goes and updates. So I'm just going to show you what I've just updated here. I'm going to search my customers. So going to the second point over here, I'm going to search customers. That means here are all the customers the moment I just go and open that screen. However, I would like to search for companies, and here I've got a small triangle. So I'd like to go and search all the clients I have input. I'm not going to put a name down here at all. I'm just going to put a date. So all those which have been input today. So I'm just going to search, and here you've got Garcia, Ruta, AkzoNobel. So I'll just show you how it looks before and after the input. So before the input, I've got this Excel information here. After the input, I've got the Garcia, Ruta, AkzoNobel, and Anfers. That's the way they are presented. So this here is now part of your database, of your client database. And obviously, I have only input 4. You may input 500 at the same time or 5,000 at the same time. So your question is going to be, what am I going to be doing now? So I can either go and do a manual name check, or I can go and wait until the next morning until the name check is done by the company, so by the system. So the company will see all the hits that have come in overnight. So let's go and have a look at the other way of importing. So if your company decides that it's going to be somebody on the user side who does it, he can also create a customer. In this particular case, I'm going to take Mr. Khan, just to show you how this actually works. I'm going to create a customer. I'm just going to go out here. So create customer. So internal ID, I need an internal ID number. I'm just going to create any ID. I'm going to put down maybe Mr. Khan. I'm going to take a first name, Mr. Sadiq Khan. He's the mayor of London. It always gives pleasure to do a name check on a person like that. Individual, nationality, so I can go and get the nationality. United Kingdom probably is right down at the bottom, or just take Switzerland, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to create. Customer created, okay. Then I can go in and search all my customers that I have input today. And remember, I just go and check with the date. I search, and automatically I've got Mr. Sadiq Khan, who has now. So it's a real-time system. It goes pretty simply. You just need to go in and do your information with regards to the time that you need to do it, the amount that you need to do it. Are you going to leave it at this, or are you going to do a name check? So I can go and do a name check. So doing a name check means if I do a name check at this level here, my name check is going to be on someone who is not in the list, not in the database. So this name check functionality here will give you the possibility of doing a name check. And this is something that you can do during the test phase. You can go and do some testing with regards to people that you just want to go and see. So maybe just want to go and see Mr. Mark Rutte, kind of to show you how that would look in reality. He's an individual, year of birth, I think it was 1967, and I'm going to go and do the check. It goes pretty quickly, so I have actually decided that this is the way that we're going to proceed. So you can see here that I've got 4 hits. I've got Route Mark, yes, in 3 different entries. I've got no Route Mark on the sanctions list. I've got 4 on the PEP list, whereby 1 is Marie-Christine van de Putte. So Route and Putte and Marie and Mark are very close, which is why you've got here a score of 86%. You've got information with regards to the reason of them being on the list. So the reason is what is the situation, what is the mandate, their PEP mandate they currently have. And you can see here the reason is Netherlands, political party, prime minister, and so on. So this information here is then information that is for you to use as a name check result. So here on the left-hand side, you've got the name checks with regards to the checking of the various lists. Here on the right-hand side, you've got the results with regards to negative news. So negative news, I've got 3 different groups of negative news, whereby Wikipedia is just simply Wikipedia. No problem. I guess we understand what this means. If you click here on the link, or if you just put the cursor on the link, it turns blue. If it turns blue, you can click on it and it will open a link outside. Risk-related articles are very important because there's a difference between, or fundamental difference between risk-related articles here on the right and the articles on the far right. Risk-related articles are articles where the name is in the article linked together with a keyword. Keywords are words such as money laundering, corruption, embezzlement, fraud, and so on. So terrorist financing. So these are the keywords which are then within an article that you can see here. And you can see here again, if I click on this, I will get information from the internet. Articles are normally just simple articles. This may not always be added value. You will have to look and see where the information is applicable to you within articles. Now, deliberately taking someone who is a PEP will give you, for example, small amount of PEP lists on the scoring or on the results of the screening. However, it will generally always give you a large number of articles because these people have a big exposure on the web, and obviously that's why we have risk-related articles out there. For your normal client, for your normal person, you will normally not have 132 articles. So you can just go through the extract of the article to see whether there's anything which is important for me. So having said all this, having received all this information, I'm going to create a report now. So I'm just going to go back to my PEP list. I'm going to say, yes, this is indeed my client. This is indeed my client. I'm going to say risk-related articles. Yes, these articles here are related to my client, and I'm going to put a small name check comment in here. My client is Prime Minister of the Netherlands. So I can put in quite a lot of information. So I've got information now which is enough to create a report. I'm going to print the report, and you can see pretty quickly I've got information with regards to the name I've checked, the scope of where I have actually gone to do my controls. I can see there's no records available on the sanctions list. I've got a number of records available on the politically exposed list. I've got my various articles here in article order. What I'm showing you here is all the articles, but however, there is also a possibility of only showing the articles that have been ticked. That will depend on your policy, on your risk management internally, and how your management would like you to do the reporting. Right at the bottom here, I've got my compliance officer's comments. My client is PM of the Netherlands. So basically, you can put down your information here with regards to the information that you have obtained and finish off your name check. So here, at the same time, I've got a date stamping. On every page, I have a date stamping, 7th of July, 11/24. That means the date stamping will always show you what time and at what moment within the relationship you have gone and done the information, because these various events need to be done at a very certain time within the relationship. So you don't go and do a name check 24 hours before the auditors come. They're going to say, oh, you didn't do this 2 months ago, so you did it yesterday. That's not good. So watch out. All this here can be checked with regards to when you did your various events within the course of a relationship. And then, of course, you're going to save as a PDF here. PDF will then mean you will have this saved on your server, and you can always go and, of course, go out and print it and get a link to the different client. So that's the normal name check. So if I go over to the search customer now. So the search customers here, I can go and do the same thing now for those that we have done today. I have defined that I would like to go and see all those which I have done today on the 7th of July. And then I'm going to go and get these names. So I've got 5. So I've decided to go and get Mark Rutte now. Now there's going to be a difference between the Mark Rutte I just showed you and the Mark Rutte I'm going to do now. I'm going to do an online name check. And then, of course, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to import the information. And here you've got this button on the right-hand side where I'm going to be importing the information on Mr. Mark Rutte. So I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, that's okay. And then I'm just going to go and tick here. And then I'm going to, of course, not forget to print my report, but I'm going to just import now. So I'm going to import this information. So importing the information now shows me that I've got 100% PEP. And you can see when your system is reacting properly, it goes very, very quickly. Even the name checks went very quickly. So I've got my name check here, and you can see here that I've got Mark Rutte verified, automatically verified and approved on the 7th of July 2020. So that's the way that I am now updating my information. I'm going to save the customer. I'm going to save the customer. I'm going to go back to the search customer. And then I'm going to get my clients of today. And you can see that Mark Rutte now has information within his line here that shows you, I've got 248 pieces of news and I've got 100% at the level of a PEP. I don't have anything at the level of a sanction, nor at the level of Interpol, nor at the level of my private list. So that's the way that you're going to be working with your information. And what I've just shown you here is the fact that you don't have to wait until tomorrow morning until you get the results for Garcia, AkzoNobel, and the others with regards to the overnight import from the batch results, but you can also go and do one automatically. If you wait till tomorrow morning, this same picture here will be very different. Then you'll find here a number of colors and a number of numbers here, which will then represent the percentage for the first and the number of articles for the last part over here. So again, there's a lot of choosing you can do. There's a lot of flexibility that the system is going to give you with regards to what you want to do at this particular case in time. Now here on the right-hand side, I've got a scoring ruler. Now this ruler here obviously is a ruler which is going to be very interesting for the compliance person. The compliance person nowadays, he gets so and so many hits and he says, I would like to see all the clients within a certain or from a certain percentage. Now the percentage is of course obviously based on the similarity between the two names. So he can say, I only want to go and see those above 87%. And all this is going to be part of your procedures. We say that with 85%, for example, with 85%, you can go and find all your clients despite the fact that you may have done some mistakes, some spelling mistakes, Smith or Smith without a T and putting with Smith and Peter with an IE or Peter with the ET. So obviously the way that you're writing a name is going to impact the final score. And this is what the compliance officer calls reducing false positives. So you're going to be reducing false positives by increasing the score here. That is something which is always very welcome by the compliance officer. So having now shown you two of the major aspects, I've now imported, I've created the database, I have created customers, and I have shown you how to do name checks. I've also got the possibility of creating a private list. Now, what is the private list? A private list is a list that is your own list, internal to your company. Now, how do you use this? You can either use it because your company is, for example, part of a group, or your company is a big company that says, we have our own policy with regards to counterparties we want to work with. And this is a list that our compliance team has set together with clients that we don't want to work with. So again, you can then add all these clients in here into the list. They will be scanned at the same time. You can also go and create new entries one by one, but by just adding, I don't want to work with Mr. Rutte. I know it's going to sound a bit strange, but I'm just going to take this as an example. And then I can put the reason in here, whatever reason I want to put down. It's an individual, and I'm going to create him. And all here I've got Mark Rutte. He's a person. I can put more information in here. And during the next name check, Mr. Mark Rutte will come out as being as having a hit on the private list. Okay, so we've now done imports. I've explained the concept to you, the name check. Now we need to go and clear the various hits. So I'm going to go back to the home, and I've got the 58 here. So what I've got here, so for example, I will take, I can go and say, I want them in alphabetical order, or I would like them in nationality order, or I would like them in date of birth order. So I'll just kind of put them in name order, and I'll go over here to Mr. Al-Husseini. Here I'm going to view. See, I've got 58 that I need to treat. So I'm going to click here on this here, and you can see that I've got some information with regards to the scores. So I've got an 86% on the sanction, I've got an 88 on the PEP list, I've got an 86 on the Interpol list. So I'm just going to check the name check hits. So what I have here is already on the name check hits. If I go and check the hits, you can see here that every time I have a list, I've got the list is a sanctions list. The sanctions list will show the name in blue. So if I click here on the name, I'm going to get information that are provided to be, in this case, by Europol. Now, Europol doesn't always give too much information with regards to aliases, but they've got a date of birth, they have a name, Europol has an ID number. The information of why this person is on the list is here: crime, murder, grievous bodily injury. I've got a linked documents. I can click here on the document and get information on most wanted. If the issuer of this name or of this list has information on the addresses will be here, passports will be here, and so on and so forth. So this information is information that is provided to you by the issuer of that list. So if I take, for example, here the EU list, you will find more information with regards to the aliases. You'll find information with regards to the European linked documents. They may have passport numbers and so on. This is information that's going to, of course, give you the possibility of going more into detail with regards to all these people. So what do I do here? So at the level here, I can say, for example, this is my client. I'm going to click here and say, this is my client. And I'm going to put down, this is my client, which is my comment now. I'm going to approve that this is my client. So it's been verified. Obviously, at this point in time, now what you need to do is make sure that your counterparty, this Mr. Al-Husseini, who has had, let's say, a low risk, now will actually have a high risk because he has been detected last night, for example, or during the night by the system as someone who is now on a sanctions list. Now, for all the others, I can just click here and it will tick all the others which have not been worked on before. And I'm going to put a general remark, and I'm going to put down not my client. I'm going to reject all these. So here you can see that they have now all been checked with false, and those that have been checked with true are checked here as verified. What I'm showing you here is the fact that when it gets to the manual intervention, people tend to say, oh, do I have to go through these 150 lines? No, you don't have to go. You need to at least go through the names. So you can click on the name and have them in alphabetical order. You can click on nationality, have them in alphabetical order of nationalities. And then it's easier for you to say, oh no, this is not my person, that's not my person. And afterwards, all those which are not your person, all those which have not yet been treated, we call these treating a hit. Then, of course, you will be treating all the untreated hits with one simple input. It's called a general remark. Right, so I've got information here on news. I've got no records available on the news here. You will have notes. So what type of notes do I have here? I can add a note to the file, and I can say, okay, client is on the sanctions list. client is on the sanctions list, watch out that this information is distributed to the people. I can go and send emails afterwards as well. I can submit, and here I've got now a comment within the file. It's important to provide the information you have within the file, because all the people that are going to be working on the batch name check, all the users, you can define as a company what type of access they will have. So this is very good for people who just have a read-only access. They can go in and see what other people have defined as regards to the risk which this person will then bring to the company. On the right-hand side, you've always got the actions that you can see. You can go and get the print report and so on, delete and so forth. Documents, what can I do with documents? I can go and link documents. So if you have your server, you can go onto your server and go and add a document from your server. So you will just select files from your server and add it. So I think the one that I've got today, let's just take this webinar here. I'm going to open, I'm going to upload, and as you can see here, I've automatically uploaded a piece of information. So that's the way that you can go and then upload information without having always to go back onto the server. And then you've got tasks here. I can go and create tasks, as I mentioned, and send these tasks to the various people. Now, I'm going to save all the work that I've done, successfully saved. I'm going to go back home, and I had 58. Now I've got 57. So you've seen the principle of me clearing one hit. And also you can see that Mr. Al-Husseini is no longer here in the list. So by the time you've done your 57, you're ready to do the other ones, because you've decided that you do this once a week or once every 2 weeks. So you've got time until the next time that you need to do your report to clear this all. So that's the way that it works. So it's very, very simple. You just have to upload your clients. You can do name checks outside of the database, within the database on existing customers. You can go and search clients. You can do name checks whenever you want on an ad hoc basis. And then, of course, the key here is always to get this part here on 0. Once your work is done, now we're going to move over to the reporting aspect. Reporting aspect is a fact of having to report information. When you're reporting information, the easiest way of doing it is to use something that already exists. So we have created for the users a number of lists, and you can see here we've got about 20 or 25 lists here. I am seeing here reports with hits. So I'm just going to click here, generate reports with hits. It's going to take a second. Customer reports here at the bottom. I'm going to open it, and it's going to open the report. It's here on my second screen. I'm going to bring it in. So here is now my report, which you can go and edit. And you can say, okay, these are all my reports: internal ID, customer names, customer first names, birth dates, customer nationality, and the hit. So I've got Arkady Rottenberg as a client, was checked against Arkady Rottenberg with 2 eyes and 1 eye. Was it correct at the time? Here's information on the various hits, on the various nationalities. You've got information on the hit description. Ukraine, he's a prominent Russian businessman who has close personal ties to President Putin, date of listing, and so on. This here is going to give you information that is important, that goes straight to the point, and that will give you the best possible presentation to your senior management. And you can go in and get these reports done in accordance to the information that you need. For example, you want to see all the customers from a certain nationality. So I want to see all the clients from Azerbaijan. So here all my clients, so it's only 1. So it's going to make your life easy. You can go in and create these reports the way that you want. So that is a report which is now just a normal report. I'm not going to save it, but obviously you can save it onto your server. Then you've got reports which have an additional parameter. This additional parameter is a period that you're going to include, and this is something which is very important: customers over period, customers with hits over a period, without hits over a period. So you can go in and say, we are now, for example, the 7th of July. I need, before the 10th of July, to get information to my senior management of the previous calendar month. So I'm going to start 1st of June until, need to go down to June, until the 30th of June, and I'm going to generate the report. Here's my customer report, which I'm then going to open. And this here is now all the information that I'm going to be providing to senior management for the month of June. So this here is going to make your system, it's going to upvalue your system. It's going to make your reporting more credible, because all this information here can be managed the way that you want to manage it. So you can just go in, of course, with the filters and get out on a report or whatever you want. So that is basically a very simple but very powerful reporting tool. When we get all this here will actually be with regards to what you are doing on a regular basis now, but you've also got changes that you can do, and you've got settings, for example. Remember that I said that you can go in and get a number of percentages. Percentages can be defined over here. For the moment, I would not go and do anything here. This will then be defined internally. You can come back to your colleagues, Paul or Francois, and ask what would be the best level of control for me as a company with 500 names, for me as a company with 5,000 names or 500,000 names. What would be the best setup for me that would then be done in accordance to your requirements? We will then be able to guide you into a certain direction. Then, of course, right at the end, you've got the user management. And user management means I've got the possibility of creating information for each individual user. So I'm just going to take this user, for example. What information do I have? So let's go cancel that one, so I can go in and get this information here. Save. So I've got all the information with regards to what this person can do, and I can have a certain amount of information which is then limited only to that person, like reading access only, write access, dashboard access, customer entry. So you can see that you can get as many people as you want within your organization to view, to work on systems, to get reporting out, and so on and so forth. This is also a system, as it is simple to use, as it is something where you can have an unlimited number of users with various profiles, to encourage other people in middle office and front office to have access to compliance data. Which obviously is something which in many cases the compliance officer is left with. With this particular system, you can go in and have other people go in and just view information. And that, I think, is a very, very positive aspect with regards to what I need in the way of information. I will take it based on what I am allowed to see. So that is the information which is actually covering all you need to know with regards to the batch name check. Again, it is a web-based system, unlimited users with a simple usage. And I think with this, I will yield back to my colleague Paul.
Thank you, Guy. That was a perfect demo. I only have actually one question that I probably need to ask you. There was a question in the chat on, and that's basically due to the security probably. How can a batch be saved on the server of a client and yet be checked by LexisNexis as a third party? I think that sort of goes back to the basics of how batch name check works. Maybe you can sort of explain that again.
Yes, Lexis and anyone who is outside of the client server does not have access to the information. The information does not leave your client server. The only thing the system does, and that is what he has to do, that's because it's a batch, is the fact of opening a link from one server to the other. But obviously, the client's firewalls will prevent any wrongdoing and will protect the data according to the client's internal policy. So the only thing that will happen where there is a link towards the outside world is at two levels. The first level is the link towards the server with regards to the information of the delta, meaning the new names that come in the evening, which are then repatriated via this link after midnight to be able to run the batch. And the other one is every time that you do a name check, you go and get the information. No information is stocked. No information is stocked outside of your server. All of the information remains on your server, and no information, no data leaves your server. Anything that moves comes in. Nothing goes out.
Perfect.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. I think that was. I have no further questions. So thank you, Guy, for all of this. I think there's going to be a poll at the end, as I mentioned, that if you want to have more information or you want to have either Francois or me contact you with regards to either the batch name check tool or the diligence tool or other data we have or tools we have, by all means fill out the poll in the system. And I think that we're going to close up here. And I want to thank you all. I'm still talking English. Bedankt voor uw aandacht. Op de laatste sheet, we zullen de sheets ook delen. Dan heb je ook een kleine inkijk in wat er allemaal gezegd is. Op de laatste sheet staat ook mijn e-mailadres, mijn telefoonnummer, ook die van Guy. Mochten er nog zeg maar specifieke vragen zijn, eventueel. En dan denk ik dat wat voor ons betreft hierbij het seminar we gaan afsluiten. De poll is inmiddels open. Dus daar kun je op klikken en antwoorden. Komt er toch nog. Ik zal die vraag. Er zit nog één vraag, maar die zal ik later beantwoorden in de questions. En dan denk ik dat we even de poll nog laten staan. En dan zal ik deze ook even terugzetten. Dan wijs ik u wel op dat we natuurlijk niet voor niets gewoon vaker webinars doen. Ook op het gebied van media. Ook op het gebied van andersoortige data die we hebben, zoals patents. Dus hou vooral onze LinkedIn in de gaten. Hou vooral onze site in de gaten voor komende webinars. Nou, ik weet zeker dat we vanuit Risk and Compliance binnenkort een webinar gaan doen over de veranderende tool Nexis Diligence, waar de UBO's inkomen met alle achtergrondinformatie en de noodzaak om die te checken. Dus kijk daar vooral naar uit, omdat dat zal zeer boeiend en zeer informatief zijn. En dan wens ik u nog een fijne dag verder en dank voor uw aandacht.